أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, so welcome you to our 13th in our series on the basic Arabic grammar course. And today we intend to look at the final and possibly the easiest of all the modes of the imperfect of Arabic. That is the imperative or the command form of the language. So far what we have covered is basically we've been through almost everything. We on the tail end of the course. We're doing the last mood today, and then the next two lessons we'll go over the forms, and then we'll round up in about 3 or 4 lessons time. Okay, so in order to understand this imperative or command, I'll just take a step back, and I think we just need to understand the two modes that we've done already a few times now. So the one thing I get asked is, why are some of these terms like subjunctive and jussive and imperative such big words, and we don't actually use it in English? And why is it that, we have to learn these words? Unfortunately, in every field of endeavor, we have the jargon that goes with that particular field. So if you're in the legal fraternity, you'll have certain words and terms that you'll understand and you have to use, and there's no other way out besides using it. Likewise, in the IT field as well, there are certain words that people use, and the IT junkies will understand perfectly what you were referring to, and it's a very specific term, and it means something in that context. Now, likewise in grammar, I think, we don't actually, as native speakers of English language, we might not have gone beyond like subject and predicate and noun and verb. We haven't gone into these words here like subjunctive and jussive and imperative, but they are what they are, and I'm just using it because you have to name it something, and this is the name that's given to it, right? So I think what you just need to understand, even if you don't remember the word subjunctive, which is a big term, just remember that when you want to do this with the language, in other words, when you have a sentence where you want to imply a wish that you have, like I want to do something, or the purpose that you have for doing certain actions, then that's when you use this particular, form, or the way this particular verb looks, right? And this verb resembles the present tense, because you remember the present tense had a u. This one has got the feature, okay, in all these. This one was unique in that the ya noon became just a ya. And here we had noons in the previous one in the normal present tense. Here the noons are omitted. Here we had a noon, it was replaced by an alif, and just the waw and alif show us that this is they two or more than two, plural as it were, are writing. And this was the female version, this was the masculine of the second person and feminine of the second person. So we did say that this and this looks the same, and these two also look the same. So there's a lot of similarity in terms of some of the blocks. And the alif nun yata in front tells us a lot, because the alif always is referred to I, the noons are referring to we, the ta is normally feminine, as well as the u has got tas in front, and the yas are normally for he and they, right? He and they, and even this they, yeah. Okay, so if you can just remember these features, because these are the features that we're going to see over and over again, and it needs to sort of be firm in your mind as to when you see these things, what do they refer to? Because it gives you the case, the gender, the person, and also this fatha here, a very important feature, and even the absence of the nouns here indicate that it's this particular mood, the subjunctive mood. Okay, the easy part about the subjunctive, well, besides these features that we've indicated here with we've blocked out the word writing, so this is not for writing. This is for any verb. You can put rama to throw, laiba to play, qara to read in this particular block here, and you'll have yakra'u or yal'abu or yarmi, or whatever the case is, whichever verb you're using. So if you remember these prefixes and suffixes, that's you're good to go. You've understood what this mood does to that particular verb. Also, what's the giveaway in this particular verb is that it's always preceded by a particle. Right? So if you remember these four groups of particles, the first group is the in order to, and the negative equivalent of it is in order not to. Right? So this is the one group of particles that you should remember. Li, like, k, used interchangeably, they all meaning the same thing, and like, la, and k, la. And you said the li doesn't have a la, right? Okay, then we have the second group, which is an, and the negative, which is an plus la, which gives you Allah. Right? So these are the second group of particles. And then the len is for negative in the future, right? Future tense, but negative, that you will not or you will never do so and so. And hatta is, it just means until. Okay? So if you remember these four groups of particles in the back of your mind, that whenever you see these particles, you know that the next word, it's a verb, has to be this particular mood of the verb. So the giveaway of this particular mood is these particles. If you remember these four groups of particles, you know that what comes is always expressing either a wish or a purpose. Okay, now I've given you these examples. Fatahtu al-bab likay akhruj, that I entered in the door, through the door, in order to leave, to go out, to exit, in others. Or I study in order not to fail. Okay, so you're doing something in order something else to happen, or in order for that thing not to happen. And you use likay and likayla. Right, atamanna is I hope to, and then visit. So this is a wish. Can you see the wish that your intention is there, that you want to do something? Or you can have a negative wish, also a negative intention that I don't want to meet him, right? So you use Allah in Muqabil. So the giveaway here is this particle with this fatha here in there. Here there's a particle with that fatha there. So in all of them you notice that feature of the subjunctive coming in, that the singular, it's always a fatha only. Likewise, len akula, same thing, right? Len is a particle, and akula, the fatha on the alarm indicates that I will never, and then akala is to eat, and yakul is to eat, so therefore I will not eat whatever. Right, and this one is I'll wait until you complete the letter or whatever else you're doing. So this is a hatta example of the particle. Okay, so if you can remember this, we move on to the jussive mood, which is very much the same in terms of many things, except that this one feature comes in, that the fatha that we saw previously now becomes a sukoon. Okay, if you look at all these are the sukoons in it. The alif nun yatas in front remain the same. Okay, can you see all those? That feature of the alif ya nun yata coming in there. And then here, this remains exactly the same as the previous mode. This also, these remain the same exactly as the previous mode. This also remains the same. Those two and these two here. All right, so essentially it's very similar, this mode and that mode. And also here, you know that they are, all right, so this is the way you look at, you look for this feature here in the jussive generally, and then this part here looks very much like the previous mode. Okay, and here also you remember also the one thing I say usually precede, because not always, now this is a tricky one, that in the jussive, although these are the particles that you must look for, right? Again, here there's three groups. There's a in or either, there's a lam and a la, right? So these are the three main particles that you look for in a sentence. In, now this is because it's a conditional sentence, that if this happens, then that thing will happen, right? So if you study, then you will pass. So you notice that both verbs are in this particular jussive mode. But if you add the sir, which is for future tense, then this becomes a normal, present tense change into future tense. So this becomes normal dhamma. But yes, the in plus this jussive at least gives you the conditional sentence there. Right, lam is used very often in the Quran, right? And we'll see further examples of it, but lam is just the negative in the past tense. Right, so two ways of expressing lam, the negative past tense. This is one of them. Or the one is, sorry, ma kataba. And if you put ma kataba, sorry, that's ma kataba is the same as lam yaktub. Right? So it gives you the past tense negative of that particular verb. So it's either ma plus a perfect verb, like the past tense verb, or la plus the jussive form of the verb. Sorry, the lam. Then we have the la. La is the negative for command. So we coming to the command, the imperative now is the next mode. But if you want to express the negative command, you do it like this. You put la, and then you use the second person here, the ta, in the jussive mode, right? So instead of using the imperative, you're using the la taktub, don't you write, or you don't write. Okay, we're addressing one male. La taktubi with the ya will be you feminine, don't write. La taktuba will be two of you don't write, etc. Okay, so in ida lam la is the three particles you must remember for this particular mode. All right, and here are examples of in the Quran. You look at alam nashrah laka sadrak. You have the lam, the particle here, and you can see the sukun there with the jussive. So have we not expanded for you your breast? Right. This one from Allam al insana ma'alam ya'alam. He taught mankind what he did not know. Right. Lam and then ya'alam. Alama is to know something. Ilm is knowledge. That's how you notice that ya'alam is the verb, first form. So it's he did not know. Here it's wajada yajidu, the verb. So yajid. Right, so this one, I'll just put it here, wajada, and then the present tense is yajidu. Now you see what has happened here from this past tense, which had a weak letter. What happens in the present tense of this particular example, the wow falls away completely, because the ya is normally, you have to put the ya alif nun yata in front, and then yajidu is the present tense verb of this verb wajada. Now, if you want to make it jussive, obviously you got to change this dhamma to a sukun. Then you get lam yajid. Can you see that yajid, that dal with the sukun there? So that's showing that where it comes from and why the verb fell away, because it's a weak letter. It's still a form one verb. Right, this alam tara is also the same. It's this is the root. When you change it to the present tense, here you have another permutation of this weakness where ra'a is got two weak letters. The alif, waw, and ya, three weak letters. This one has got two of the three weak letters in it, ra'a. Now, when you make it into present tense, you put the alif, nun, ya, ta in front. So here we have the ya, here, and then the ra, and then all this other alif and ya just fell away. So that's how you're left with yara is he saw or he has seen, and tara would be have you not seen, right? So alam tara kaifa, have you not seen how Allah, how your Lord dealt with the companions of the elephants, right? So this is why this, although it's just two letters, but it tells you so much if you understand that this comes from this verb yara'a and how it became just ra, right? And the ta is just a part of the four letters that introduce a person of that verb. All right, then this one, alam yajal kaidahum, did he not make the strategy or the plans or the plots go astray? So if you notice from this in ida lam la, I tried to find more examples from the Quran, from the 30th supara, from surahs that we know, and you find that lam appeared the most, right? So in appears in other parts of the Quran, and even la appears in other parts of the Quran, but in the short surahs, this lam appears quite often. So I think if you remember in lam and la, then you know there's a jussive. Okay. All right, let's move on to the imperative. Now, the imperative is the command. Imperative is like where you force somebody to do something, right? So this is a command form of the verb. Now, it is derived from the jussive mood, right? So it's from the same table of the jussive, but only appears in the second person, because you can only give an order or a command to someone to do something if they are present. They have to be in front of you. That then you can. So this is why only the second person appears in this whole chart. There's no third person. There's no first person. For the reason being that you can't give a command to someone who's not in front of you, right? Like a he or a she or somebody sitting in the other room or somewhere else in the world. You can't go and tell somebody else who's not here, do this or do that, because he's not listening to you or she's not in touch with you at the moment, right? So this is a face-to-face thing. Like in front of you, I can tell you, write, read, listen, sleep, eat, whatever the case is, right? So that's why the second person is only used in this particular mode, right? And this one is a very easy one that like I told you, you only have these 6 forms. I mean, the 6 variations of it. You have uktub, uktubi. Here it's uktuba, uktuba as well, the same thing. Here is the waw alif coming in and the noon coming in there to show the plural, right? So you can give a command to a singular person, you can give to 2 people, and you can give it to more than 2. And obviously the first person also doesn't apply because you don't normally give a command to yourself, right? I mean, you are saying you must do something, but you're not saying that to yourself or to a group of us sitting here, we. So therefore the first person doesn't apply, like we, I, and we. Now how do we get to the imperative? There's just one little step that we need to remember here, right? So from the second person, you notice this is all second person. This is the singular, this is a dual, this is a plural. Right, so from taktu, which is the second person jussive singular for masculine. So we're talking about how to derive from the jussive, how do we get to the imperative, okay? So this first star, all the first stars that we normally have for second person, we remove them and we replace them with the alif, okay? And then to decide on what vowel the alif should take, you look at the middle letter of the ta. Here it was a dhamma, therefore you have an alif with the dhamma here. Okay, so this is how you derive it from the jussive. Going from the second person, you replace the ta with an alif, and then you have an alif in front, and you decide on the vowel based on that rule that I showed you earlier in a previous lesson, but I'll show it to you again now. All right, so this is essentially what we're looking at in terms of the way it looks. These two are similar. This is unique. This is unique. This is the ya there. And all of them have sukun, as it were, in these, right? And this one doesn't have a sukun, it's just a long vowel. All right, so this is the one that I was telling you that if you look at this middle letter of kataba, right, the present tense has got a dhamma here. And if it's a dhamma, the ta changes to an alif, and the alif carries a dhamma. So that's how you get uktub, is the command form of write. Likewise, if you look at akala, ya akulu, same thing, there's a dhamma here. So there you change a ta to an alif. And here the unique thing is that because akala is a weak letter, now you can't say a thing like this, kul. So what happens is this whole thing gets omitted, and then you're left with kul. This kaf, lam, kul, to eat. Okay. And likewise in caller, this is the same rule that applies. We have caller, yakulu, and then takulu is the second person normal present tense, and takul without the waw, because the waw is a weak letter, fell away. So you have takul is the second person jussive. The ta changes, drops away. You're supposed to have an alif, but for some reason, even the alif falls away, and then you have just left with kulya. Kul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, or kul wallahu, right? Kul is read. So this follows the pattern of u, these examples that on the right. But in this one here, notice even the alif fell away because for some reason, right? So there was a weak letter alif inside, and when you went to the present tense, somehow that waw dropped because it replaced the alif, and even the alif in front also is omitted. Then we have a second category of qara'a and shariba, where the middle letter is a fatha. Okay, and this goes across, same thing. We take the ta out, we replace it by an alif, and then the alif, now we decide, does this take a fatha, kasra, or a dhamma? Here's a dhamma here. In this one, the example says you must, even with the fatha here, it takes a kasra, the ikra or ishrab, right? The alif of this mode takes alif with the kasra. Likewise with jalasa, the third category where you have kasra, this one remains kasra. So alif, this one kind of agrees. This one doesn't agree, but still you have to do it. This is the rule about the imperative of the first form verb. The alif with the fatha is also used in another verb form, which we'll cover a little later, possibly in the next lesson. So this is a distinguishing feature between another form and these are the first forms here. Right? First form here in this example. We'll cover that one later. So just remember that the alif either takes a dhamma or a kasra in the form one verb imperative. Now, where is the imperative or the command used? It's used many, many times in the Quran. The first ayah being ikra. Right? Here you have ikra. Ikra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read or recite. We had qul before. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas from qala yaqulu. Salli is a form two verb, which we'll cover later, but here's an example of salli where the jid comes in. And we'll cover that one later, so ignore that one for now. But look at this one har and sacrifice. Nahara yanharu, and you have one har, right? So there's an example also, the sukun with the alif in front, showing you that it is in a command. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. Here you ignore the fa. Okay. Then you have nasaba yansabu. You have your insab, the command coming in there. وَإِلَى رَبِّكَ فَارْغَبْ. Again, رَغِبَ يَرْغَبُ. You ignore the fa. There's your alif of the imperative, and here's your sukun to show you it's the imperative. Now here you have an example of do not obey. So this is you remember those three particles in lam la. La is used for the second person jussive, so that's how you get la and then tuti. And this ata yuti'u is the actual command or the second person jussive as well. From sajada yasjudu you get wasjud. In qaraba yaqtaribu, this is the form 8, which we'll cover later. There's a ta here inside to show that form, but again the rule is the alif there and the sukun to show you the imperative. So these are all examples of imperatives or in one example of a negative command as well. Now the other very common use of the imperative or the command is in all the du'as that we make, the supplications. Here I've just taken one example from the 40 Rabbana. These are the famous 40 Rabbanas that you find in the Quran. Rabbana wa la tuhammilna ma la taqata lana bi. If you look at this one, la tuhammilna. Right, so there's in lam la, remember as a jussive, where you're going to say don't burden us not, or don't burden us with. So here you're saying don't, and then this is the you, here there's your jussive. So this shows us the second person jussive, la tuhammilna. Okay, don't, you're asking or pleading with Allah not to burden us with something that we cannot bear. Then it carries on with afa and ighfir and irham and wansur. All these are examples of first form verbs. Also, afa ya'afu, right? So afa is the present tense. Now here's a weak letter, it falls away. Ya'afu is the present tense. And then from there, the alif falls away. So you get just the ain in the fa is, linking back to that root of afa. Ghafara yaghfiru is a normal three-letter verb. You can see waghfir, warham, also Rahima Yarham, and Wansur, Nasara Yansuru. So those are three examples, normal first form standard verbs that no letters fell away, and it gives you that of pardon us, forgive us, and have mercy on us. So one of the things where you find the imperatives used a lot are all in the du'as. In every dua, Rabbana Atina, Ati is the verb there. Any dua you take, there's something that you're asking Allah of, and you're doing it. So although we're saying it's a command form, but it's actually we are asking politely to Allah, because we can't command Him to say, you know what, you better do it or else. There's no such thing. I mean, we have to ask Him, and out of His magnanimity and sublimeness, He can actually give it to us or withhold it for us for the time, or give it to us later, whenever. It is His one when the du'as will get accepted, but our job is to ask politely, and Allah has taught us in the Quran many ways of asking. All right, then we go on to, this is another famous dua, try and bring us closer to the Quran. Allahumma arhamni bil Quran, waj'alhu li imama wa nura wa huda wa rahmah. Allahumma dhakkirni minhu ma nasit, wa allimni minhu ma jahilt, wa rizukni tilawatahu تلاوته آناء الليل وآناء النهار واجعله لي حجة يا رب العالمين. I've just used different colors, but essentially all these, and just to show you different, verb forms. Rahima yarhamu. Irham means you have mercy on me. Me is me, right? Have mercy on me. Waj'alhu, and make it. This who referring to the Quran masculine here, therefore use who. Make it the Quran an imam or a leader and a light and a guidance and a mercy. Zakira is to remember, to remind me. That Zakir is a form 2 verb, so we haven't done that, but this is an example of it. Wa'allimni also, yes, same thing, say a form 2 verb, right? So it's the same. You're using the same feature here. Can you see that there, and there's no alif in the second form command, right? So alif falls away, but that tashdid shows it's a form 2, and the sukun here shows that it's a command or an imperative. Warazuk, razika yarzuku is an example again, razaka, that is to give or grant me or bless me with. It's a recitation during the hours of the day and night, and make it ij'alhu, this Quran, right? Again, the who referring to the Quran there, make it a source of an argument in favor of me, O Lord of the worlds. All right, so very often we find the imperative used in duas and supplications. Now, what I thought I'll do, just to try and consolidate what we've learned, this exercise, I've just taken some ayat at random, and I chose Surah Hujurat, and I just chose the first 6 ayat there. Right? I have numbered it here. Now, at face value, this time I haven't given you any English meaning here. I just want to go through how I would, perhaps using the knowledge we have of nouns and verbs, how I would go about trying to look for them, right? So we know these rules, right? You have an, in, and un, that an, the double fatha, the double kasra, right? And then the un, right? So those are the giveaways that that's a noun, right? If you find a double vowel at the end of that word. Notice so far in all our verb studies, we never came across a double fatha, double kasra, or double dhamma at all. There's always yaktubu, or yaktuba, or yaktub with a sukun, right? So that's one characteristic feature that shows us that we're talking of nouns, right? That you can have double vowels at the end of the word, right? The other feature of nouns is that words can take a al in front of it, like kitabun can be al kitabu. You can never get an al on a verb. Like yaktubu is he is writing, you can't say al yaktubu. Al can never appear in front of a verb. Okay, so that's the second giveaway that al is showing us it's either a noun or an adjective. The third thing is that the idafa is a unique feature that it puts two nouns together and gives us that construction of the book of the boy. with the of coming in. Then the dual we have ani, ani, like waladun becomes waladani, waladeni, bintun becomes bintani, binteni for dual. Then we have una, ina for sound masculine plurals, like Muslim becomes Muslimuna or Muslimina. So if you find a una, ina with the l or without the l, you know that there we're talking of a noun as well. And then for sound feminine plural, we have atun, atin, like Muslimatun becomes Muslimatun or Muslimatin. So just using these 6 indicators, let's peruse this ayah, right? Or these ayat. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tuqaddimu. I'm not looking at verbs for now, right? I'm sure you picked up amana, there's something there. Allah, there's Allah there. So ignore that for now, right? I'm just looking at nouns, right? So here's one, yada. Yadun we know is a hand. Yada is the fact that it's 2 hands of. And then Allah, can you notice it's got a kasra here? So this looks like something that we've covered, the 2 hands of Allah. Previously we looked at the 2 hands of Abu Lahab, remember? Yadillahi wa rasulihi. Now you see here's the word Rasul as well, right? So here we're looking at an idafa construction. There's 2 nouns there, and a Rasul with an attached pronoun. Remember we did idafas where you can add 2 nouns, and if this is if the 2 hands refer to Allah and the Rasul, then obviously this genitive will apply to this genitive, and therefore this gives you 3 nouns with with the second noun added by a were and the attached pronoun coming in there. Okay, so there's 3 nouns that we've found out already. Allah is another noun that we come across here. Again, you can't Allahu, and even these are regarded technically as nouns, the all hearing, the all knowing, they're qualities of Allah that are also nouns. Right, then if you look at this one, I'm just going through it as here we have something, aswatakum. Now, if you don't know what's aswat, here we have the singular sot. Sot is the sound or the voice, right? So here's one voice, here's many voices. Aswat is the broken plural with the right. And wala tajharu lahu bil qawl. There's an al there. Can you see al? The al gives you the fact that qawl is the speech. Right? There's another noun there. كجهر بعضكم بعضا أن تحبط أعمالكم وأنتم لا تشعرون. Right? So here's ahmal from amal. Amal is a deed. Ahmal is a plural. So here's a broken plural showing that your deeds will become null and void if you. Just to give you a background of the surah, you remember this surah was revealed. It's called Hujurat, which is the inner chambers or the rooms of the Prophet Prophet's household, right, where his wives lived. Now we find that in the initial days, when some Sahabas were Bedouins and they came from from outskirts of far away, and they didn't have like politeness in them. And when they came and they wanted to like speak to the Prophet, they would just come to the Prophet's mosque and just shout out aloud, "Hey, Prophet Sallallahu," even sometimes not even calling my Rasulullah, just say, "Ya Nabi, come out, we want to talk to you and ask you a question." So yeah, Allah is giving that category of Bedouins the fact that you mustn't raise your voices in front of the voice of the Prophet or in front of his house. You must come with decorum and good behavior when you come to approaching. So that was the background to this particular ayah. That's why you can see this. Don't raise your voice and don't be forward and don't when you come there, you must come dignified and you must wait. Right? If he's inside, don't knock if it's not urgent, and wait for him to come out, and then you address him to ask him whatever questions you have. Right, there we have aswat again. That same words aswat, that those who lower their voices in the Rasulillah. Now here's a Rasulillah. Can you see the idafa construction there? No earlier. The genitive here. So here's an idafa, ulaika alladhina imtahana Allah. There's Allah there. Qulub, from qalb is a heart. Qulub is a plural, so their hearts have been tested for taqwa, piety. Right? There's a al there. but there's a li in front of the al, and therefore the alif falls away. So it's lit taqwa, for piety, for the piety. Right? So there's another noun there. Lahum maghfira, forgiveness, wa ajrun, and a reward. That's great. Now this is an adjective describing this particular ajr. The kind of reward you'll get is a great reward. Right? So you're going to get not only forgiveness, you're going to also get a great reward if you follow the decorum that's being advised here. Inna ladhina yunadunakum min wara'il hujurat. So from behind the hujurat we said are the chamber, the inner chambers. Aktharum la yaqilun. Walau annahum sabaru, you can see wawa leaf, so you know that's a verb. Takhruja, can you see that there? That is obviously a verb. Well, we did hatta in one of the modes. Lakana khayran lahum wallahu. Allah is again a noun. Ya ghafurun, two qualities, again nouns, right? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in ja'akum fasikun. Fasik is a person who's very technical word they use is profligate. Is a very rash and outspoken, and he tends to stretch the truth. He talks big, and so Fasik is like somebody who's not a very good character. So if somebody of that caliber comes to you with naba'in news, then you must tabayyan, or you must differentiate between, unless, and if you don't, and to sibu qawman, you might just put a musibah or a difficulty on a community, bijahalatin, in ignorance, fatusbihu ala ma fa'altum nadimin. And if you'll regret later if you don't go through this process of verifying the veracity of what this fasik is saying. So you must be very careful what you hear, not just to repeat what you hear. You must verify and your sources and be certain of what you're going to be doing. So I've just done a brief. Now we didn't find any anesthesia. We didn't find we didn't find, but we found some broken plurals. Even atun atin, I think we didn't find in this particular one. Now, yeah, here's one. Here's a hujarat, right? So there's a atun atin coming in there. So you can see, and maybe I'll just give you the solution here to it. Here's your list of nouns. Right? Now we're going to look at the verbs. Just concentrate on the verbs. And now when you want to do the verbs, what do we look for? If you think it's a past tense verb, you look out for suffixes like ani, una, te, tumatun, ti, tumatunan. Remember the past tense table, right? So that's only the suffixes coming in at the end of a verb, right? For the present tense and all the modes, you look at anate in the front, alif, nun, yata in front, and suffixes that could either be dhamma, fatha, sukun, ani, una, nun, without nun, etc. So these are the two main verbs forms that you look for, is the past tense and the present tense, right? Then we have the subjunctive, the jussive as well, right? These particles, you look for these particles, and those give away the fact that it's the next verb is one of those modes. And then the imperative just got the sukun in the end. So now let's look at the same thing. Here we have amanu, right? Can you see the waw leaf coming in here? Kataba, kataba, katabu. Remember that first line of the third person in the past tense? So this is a past tense verb. Amana is to believe, right? La tuqaddimu. And here's la. Where's la? There's a la there. All right. Tuqaddimu. Qaddama is to come in front of. Again, waw leaf to show plural masculine. Right? La tuqaddimu. So this is an example of a just of second person plural. Can you see? There's a ta there. There's a waw leaf there and the la particle there. Then we go on, wattaqullah. Here we have ittaqwa, ittaqi. From taqa is the piety. Wattaqu means you must be pious. The waw alif is showing you plural, and the alif in front is the imperative, right? So it's the imperative form of having taqwa, that all of you should have taqwa of Allah, be pious, God conscious of Allah. So there's another verb. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, again here. La tarfa'u. Now here we have la again. La. Rafa'a is to raise. So rafa yarfa'u. Can you see the waw alif? The ta in front and the la. This all gives you second person plural. the la. Then let's go on here. La tajharu. Again, here there's a la, and notice the waw alif coming in, right? La tajharul bil qawl. Fajahri ba'dikum an tahbata. Here's an. Remember we had an? Yeah, and we have an. Here's an here. An tahbata. Can you see that? Right? Lest your deeds become null and void, or you void your deeds. Amalakum antum la tashurun. Again, la tashuruna. This is a normal present tense. You do not feel, or you do not experience or observe, right? Shaira is to feel. La tashurun. Inna ladina yaghuduna. Again, here the waw noon coming in to show this is in the ya in front. So it gives you away that this is the present tense, ya plural, masculine, right? In the Rasulillahi ulaika ladina imtahana. This one we haven't done. This is a form 8 verb. There's a ta in front. But imtahana means, imtihan, is an exam. So we have, Allah has tested. That's the verb tested. Imtahana. Normal present tense, third person singular. Lahum maghfiratu in. Right. Yunadunaka. Here's another example. There's a ya in front. And there's a fatha here. Right, so you can see there's a feature here. Now again, this one we haven't done. There's alif in the side, alif infix. This is a form 3 verb, but you can see at least a fatha here to show you that it's a subjunctive. Right, and then la ya'qilun, again the la and the alif nun yata in front and waw nun at the end. So la ya'qilun, they do not have intelligence, or they do not think, right? Walau annahum sabaru. Sabar, sabar is patience, and waw alif, they have patience. Hatta takhruja. So there's a hatta in one of your particles here. There's hatta here. Takhruja, until he, until you takhruja ilayhim, that you come out to him. Lakana khayran lahum wallahu ghafurur rahim. Amanu we had before. Ja'a is to come. Here's another. Here we have an in, but this is not this in here where we had a conditional sentence. Right? This is a different in, because this is a past tense. Ja'a, that if he came, this means if, not when. Right? It's a condition. If ja'akum fasikun binabain fatabayyanu. Here it means it's commanding you to verify. Tabayyana. Right? Again, the tajdeed and the ta in front, showing a form 5 verb we haven't done, but you can see a feature here of the waw alif there, and this commanding you to verify something. An tusibu, here's an example of an tusibu, right? This is waw alif here, and an, we had an here, remember an here? That's common bijalatin for tusbihu, and you will become. Asbaha yusbihu. Here's another example that you will become. So this is a jussive without the, you see there's no alif here. This is a ta here. So this is a normal second person jussive that without the particle, that you will become. Right? Tusbihu. Allah ma fa'altum. Fa'ala is to he did, and tum. And so these are, so what I've shown you now is all the verbs that we've come across, and all the rules about past tense, present tense, subjunctive, jussive, imperative. So this is, you can see how the thing fits in. Now to show you the thing as a solution, I've given you all the green colored are the nouns, and the idafas and all the rest of it. Then the yellows are all the verb forms. If it's just on its own, then it could be a past tense. But when you have a la, then it makes it a, this la here. Where's la? La, this one, right? La or the jussive. Don't something is a negative command, right? La. Here you have also la. Here you have an. Here you have a hatta. La. An. This in is different. That's an, and this is in. Okay, so you can see the context that I'm trying to show you, that once you know your grammar, you can actually apply it. And if you can if you can even identify the 3 root letters, like amina or amana, yeah, then you know it's something to do with belief, right? Iman. Because iman and amana, the verb, gives you the iman form, which is the noun. right? Qaddama is to come in front of, right? Taqwa, ittaqillah, taqwa, piety, right? So from there you can gauge that if it's the verb of taqwa, then it's be pious or have piety, something about a verb. Amana, we do the rafa is to raise your hands, so tarfa'u to raise your voices. Uh, Tahbata is to nullify. Tash'urun is to, shara is to feel. I remember I sent you that TikTok that talked about Shari's hair and Shara is to feel. Remember? I think you probably rings a bell with Tash'urun, to feel something, right? All right, so this is an example of how we can actually analyze a text using at least some of our grammar knowledge. Obviously, what we need to do is also improve on our vocabulary, which if we can try and see linkages between the root of the verb and the meaning that we identify with, like sabara. Sabara is to do with patience, and yusbir would be patient, and yasbir is to he is being patient, yasbiru. And sabara would be the past tense. Sabara is he was patient. So if we can see linkages like that of the root with the meanings, then this whole passage can come alive and we can sort of relate to what we're reading in the Quran, inshallah. All right, so I've just given you the English meaning of it, so on your own time you can look at what the exact meanings are. And I think we'll stop at that point. I just had one more slide, but maybe I'll explain this one at the next lesson. It's the same thing where we're explaining the subjunctive lamla or on its own, and there's examples here. All right, so basically where have we gone to? We've finished the imperative. Right? If you understand this is mainly in duas, and you're asking for somebody in person to do something. So that covers now the moods. Okay, so the moods are done. Okay. Now we're going to go on to the 10 forms of verbs. Now, form 1 we've done already many times, like kataba, laiba, shariba, on the 3-letter words. Then we get other forms that come out from there. And then we have the same tenses and moods that apply to all these forms. So we'll see the similarity if we know those charts that I showed you earlier today. You'll see that coming into play again in all these verb forms. Each verb form will have a different look and feel about it. And once you see a pattern, you'll see, this is a form 2, this is a form 3, that's a form 4, whatever the case may be. Okay, so we'll stop at that point. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.